What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of Insightful Principles. We have a special episode here for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Everyone that's been supporting the show, I greatly appreciate it. And I actually have a special guest here today on the show with me, Rob Velasquez. And I'm just glad I was able to connect with this gentleman just through our social media. We actually both have similar backgrounds with our careers and also in business, and we both were brought up in the same parts. We actually are both from Detroit, Michigan, so it's always interesting where I can connect with someone with my hometown. And Rob, he currently lives in LA right now, and he's actually building in a consulting business where he helps other big brands with building their customer service and also their sales departments. And throughout the show today, we're just going to provide you guys with some insight on how you can focus on developing your mindset, which can lead to you developing any skill set, which in result will lead you to increasing your paycheck. So, to get things started here, Rob, can you provide some details on your background and also just tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, man, I would love to. First and foremost, before I even do that, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on here and not only, chop it up with you, but more so to reach out to your audience. You know what I mean? Anytime I'm given the opportunity to do that, it's a blessing in my eyes. So, I just want to say thank you for that. But for those of you who don't know me, as Kevin mentioned, my name is Rob Velasquez, and I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. Currently 25 years old. I grew up right outside of the city in a town called Dearborn, Michigan. If you're from Michigan, you probably know where that is. And a little bit about myself is, my background is pretty diverse, but at the same time, it's nothing too crazy. A lot of things that just kind of really go hand in hand with each other. So born and raised, I was an athlete growing up. I was kind of the class clown and the student athlete. For me, I was an athlete student, so I put sports before my education, and that's just how it went. For very many years. And then what ended up happening was at a young age, at the age of 12 years old, by no fault of my own, what actually happened is I ended up getting sick. I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer. And when that had happened, it was located in my leg. So we went through the chemotherapy, we did the surgeries. We were out of commission for a little bit, but it took me, just a quick 2 years to go from out of commission to in remission and being healthy and being back to normal life. And when I say normal life, what I mean is, not being in the hospital 3 weeks out of every month, but, life wasn't normal for a very long time. There was a lot of changes that had to be made due to the fact that, the cancer was in my leg once I was done. The sports that I had played before, they were all high intensity, high activity on the leg, football, baseball, basketball, hockey. I couldn't play those anymore. So throughout high school, what I did was I went from being a athlete student and class clown to primarily the class clown because I couldn't do the athlete stuff anymore. Was just trying to do enough to get by, man. I was really there to network with my friends and be with my friends and have fun. But the crazy thing about it was that even throughout high school, and as we were growing up and developing in our minds and everything, the things that I wanted out of life from, before I was sick to after I was sick, they didn't change. And primarily what I mean by that is just the good life, the life that I think personally everybody wants to experience, which is a life of increase. We wanna look better over time. We want to feel better over time. We want to do better over time. We want to have more over time. And that was the thing that I wanted. Um, so then after high school, I didn't go to college. I actually opted out of college, and the reason being is because I didn't get into any colleges. None of them would accept me. If I wanted to go to college, I would have had to do the whole community college route for a couple years, and then going to university eventually. So instead of actually going to school at these college campuses, what I was doing was I got introduced to an opportunity at a young age in multi-level marketing, network marketing, direct marketing, however you know it. Some of us would even call it a pyramid scheme, right? For those who don't really understand the business model, but that is my first, introduction to entrepreneurship is kind of what I call it. And so I wasn't going to school, but I was moving around and I was living at all these college campuses. I lived on the campus of Central Michigan University, Grand Valley, Michigan State University, just trying to put myself in a position to network with other like-minded young individual, potential entrepreneurs, because that was just, the market at that time. And then from there, my sales career kind of flourished. My leadership career flourished. A lot of opportunities came and went, and I've done a lot of different things, and it's all kind of led me to here over the past 8 years of really doing this thing, man. And what I mean by that is just nonstop. Opportunity after opportunity. If it means starting over from zero. If it means walking away from a company and doing something else on your own, like, that's really what this past 8 years has been made up of, and it's been one hell of a ride, and it's been a blessing, man. I would never change any of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting for you to just share your story and everything that you went through with the bone cancer, and how you were able to change your mindset to overcome that. And just with your experiences with network marketing, that's actually how I first got introduced to entrepreneurship. Actually, that's how after college, when me and Coy actually introduced me to the multi networking space, and really got interested in just that whole process of being able to create those relationships, to be able to build a book of business. So I definitely think that network marketing, it is very helpful. And it's just great to see that that was some of the same experiences that you had as well. Now, I did also want to get into what inspired you to get into the personal development space.
Man, that's a great question. So to be honest, how I got into the personal development space was it was handed to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't go searching for it. I wasn't. And the funny thing is, I didn't think I wasn't personally developed. I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
the next. I thought I was the next best thing since sliced bread already.
Yeah.
And it was when I was in network marketing. What I did do is I came into the industry quietly, but I made a lot of noise very quickly. And so when I did that, what ended up happening is some of the top leaders had, kind of heard a crash, and they looked over there to see what was going on, right? And they saw me. And so one of them took me under their wing, and I'll never forget the day. He actually said, hey, I just talked to your upline, like the person who kind of got me involved in the business. He told me, what you've already done, how much money you've already made in like a short, 3 weeks. Because at that time, and you got to remember, I was 17 and 18 years old when I first started doing it, and like I had first came into the industry and I had made $2,100 in like 2 weeks. And I get that, that's not, I don't say that to impress anybody. I just say it to simply impress upon you guys that not a lot of people do that when they join network marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they saw me and they were like, okay, the whole concept of that industry is to find the runners and run with the runners. So this guy, he came up to me, he approached me, he told me he had heard what I had done in my first 3 weeks, and that that he thought that I was going to be the next big thing, and really take this thing to the next level, change my life, change a lot of people's lives. He was like, I want you to meet me for lunch tomorrow at this place at this time. And so I went there, just not really knowing what to expect. Obviously, very excited, very passionate, ready to learn, but not knowing what to expect at all. And I sit down, and this guy, is pulling books out of his bag, and I'm like interested, but at the same time, remember what I just told you, like. I didn't take school seriously at all. Even in school, I think the only book I ever read was like Johnny Appleseed. I never did any of the textbook reading. It just wasn't me. That wasn't personally me. So he's pulling out these books and he's like, I want you to read these. And I'm thinking like, buddy, I don't read, and he's like, well, don't worry. I also have some audios I want you to listen to. And he had given me a list of audios to listen to. And naturally, I started with the audios first. Okay. And what was interesting in a lot of these audios and a lot of the content that I started consuming, um, it kept coming up, this tagline: leaders are readers, or readers are
Hmm.
leaders. And I
Yep.
keep hearing this over and over and over. And it wasn't until, to be honest, it wasn't until, even years later, that now I truly understand why leaders are readers or readers are leaders. It
Hmm.
has something much more deeper to do with attention and being focused on something specific, and the
Hmm.
way that that kind of all works with, reality and everything. But
Hmm.
I started dabbling into these books a little bit, and at first I was reading these books to finish them, because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. The person that reads the most books makes the most money, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
So I was reading them to finish them, but I quickly learned that these books, you don't read them to finish them. Not the personal development books,
Hmm.
because it's not a narrative, it's not a story, it's not something that you're just trying to get to find out what happened. These are, literal transcripts that have information, right? That I truly believe that if applied correctly over a duration of time, they breed results. And so then
Hmm.
that's when I started really studying these books to understand them, to internalize them. I started highlighting things. I started taking notes on the books that I was reading. And the part that'll really, throw people off, I think, the most, is that I continued reading the same books over and over and over and over again, the same chapters over and over and over again, especially the ones that resonated with me the most, or the ones that I felt like I needed improvement in the most. And I started, reading these things over and over, because not that the book changed, but every time that I read it, I had realized that I had changed, right? And it was a new book to me every single time. And so that's how I got involved in the personal development industry. And, it changed my life, obviously, for sure. And I'll never go back. I'll never not tell somebody that, they shouldn't be consuming this type of content.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on some important information. When you talk about reading, it's really there for you to apply that information so you can be able to get the results that you're looking for in life. And I like your mentality on constantly reading it over and over again, because I think that a lot of times when we read, you know we may feel like we have to be in a rush to finish the book rather than taking certain concepts and reading it over and over again, to really make sure that we're understanding the information so we can be able to apply it in our life, bit by bit, rather than just reading the whole entire thing and putting the book down. So I definitely think you can get more out of reading the same page 50 times in comparison to just reading it one time and moving on to the next chapter. So I like that mentality, man. I think that even when I'm reading now to this day, that's my mentality, is just to continue to read certain concepts that resonate with me, or how I can be able to make those improvements within my life. And that actually leads into my next question. Can you describe your perspective on the concept, your concept that you came up with the mindset, the skill set, and the paycheck? Can you kind of really talk on that a little bit more?
Yeah, man. I would love to. So it's a great question. And, what I had started doing at first was, I was just branding myself as an
Mm-hmm.
individual, right? I was like, thanks for following, Rob Velasquez, and Rob Velasquez this and Rob Velasquez that, which was cool, right? Like, I get it. But I eventually wanted to create a brand that, because Rob Velasquez could be anything. Obviously it's
Yep.
me, but I could be doing anything, is what I mean. And I really wanted to create some kind of a brand that I thought would, by the name of it, explain to people and help people understand like what this brand represents, right? And for me, mindset, skill set, paycheck just kind of, it came about one day. But it's in that order for a reason, right? And take this from someone who, and again, I'm not anywhere near where I want to be yet, but the past 8 years of my life, going on 9 years of being in this entrepreneur, avenue, if that's what you even call it. Um, it's been crazy, and I can tell you that the way that it has gone, the order that it has gone in, is I have had to completely redevelop this new mindset. I've had to completely reprogram myself, and I say that I say it that way, reprogramming myself, because that's exactly what it is. Like, you are taking what you have learned, and you are unlearning it, and you are relearning new information. And actually, I forget who says this quote, but it's in one of these personal development books or audios I've listened to, and it's a philosopher. I forget his name, but he says the literate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. The
Mm,
literate of the 21st century will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Literally
mm,
meaning that the system and the way that things worked for our parents and for our grandparents and our great grandparents and generations beyond. It's just not the way that things work now. We're even seeing the world that we live in today, me at 25 years old versus when I was first born. Things are just operating differently. That's not a
mhm,
negative thing. It's just a reality. Things are operating differently. So, what we need to realize is that, our some of our parents and even our teachers and our aunts and our loved ones, they're teaching us how to do things that worked for them, because they have our genuine interest at heart, and that's what they want us to do well, how they did well, or for most of them they want us to do better than how they did, right? So they're like, okay, let me teach them how to do what I did at an even younger age. And they have the best intentions ever. But for some of us, I think, you need to pay attention to the fact that maybe what you've been taught and what people are leading you to believe and leading you to do might just not be the best way to go about things at this time. And it doesn't make them bad people, and it doesn't make your opportunity less enticing. All I'm saying is that you have to consider the fact that you might have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's the mindset part of it, right? Because it is a total reprogramming. Once you do that, right, and if you build the right mindset, and this is not to be confused with like motivation or something of that nature, because to be honest, I used to be big in motivation. I used to say I wanted to be a motivational speaker.
mhm,
Now my end goal, to be honest with you, is to just be a speaker. No
mm.
motivation involved, because
Yep,
motivation is, it's an emotion, and emotions
yep,
come and go, right? We're
mm,
happy sometimes, we're sad sometimes, we're upset, we're frustrated, we're ecstatic, we're enthused. There's so many different emotions, and motivated is one of those emotions, right? It's
mhm,
juice me up and tell me to run through this wall, and I'm going to do it, right?
mhm,
And unfortunately, we live in a world that, there's not always motivation around. A matter of fact, I would say that we live in a world that is pretty damn deflating, personally, right?
mhm,
A lot of negative
mhm,
things happen, and life just happens, and really, what I want to teach people to do more so than be motivated is to be disciplined, right?
mm,
And discipline is a skill set. It's not an emotion. There's a
mhm,
difference, right? You can teach yourself to be disciplined, and discipline will kick in regardless of what emotion you're feeling. Versus if you teach yourself to be motivated, then what happens if the motivation is no longer there, right? So that's
yep,
the mindset side of things. Once you do that, you shift into a skill set side of life. And the way that the skill set side of life works is, I have this weird belief, that the only way you truly find out what you want in this world is you first have to experience, not hear about, talk about, or have the opinion of someone else about. You need to experience first what you don't want. By doing that, that's how you truly can. It's an elimination process, right? Because everything in the world in the beginning is just a list of wants, right?
Hmm.
And as we start experiencing them, we say, oh shit, I didn't really want that.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't really, what I thought it was going to be. So, experience, skill set means start something fresh, learn as much as you can, and if, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, in 6 months' time, if it's just not, you're not passionate about it, you're not driven to do it, you feel like you've fallen into just a mundane day-to-day experience or something, don't be afraid to go start something else and go do something else. And personally, where I think the difference is for me, as I told you, I didn't go to college. So I
Hmm.
I jumped around from the ages of 17 until 23 years old, which was when I had finally walked away from like corporate America in the essence of working for somebody else. Um, I had a bunch of jobs, and they ranged, excuse me, from 17 to 23, from being a cashier at a grocery store, to landscaping, to being a server and a bartender, to getting involved in sales finally, which is where I found my niche, right? Because I love people, and in sales I was dealing with people. And then once I finally found my niche, even there, I didn't just stick with one company, right? I started selling different products and services for different companies. And I started off with, cable internet and home phone, to energy drinks, to financial services, to all different kinds of things, logistics and supply chain, right? And just getting involved in all these different things, finding out what I truly am passionate about by first figuring out what I'm not really that passionate about, right? But it's through the experience of doing that. And so, when you have the right mindset, is why I'm sharing all these experiences with you guys, is because what I'm telling you is I developed the skill set to sell cable. I developed the skill set to sell trucking. I developed the skill set to sell financial planning, all from scratch, simply because I had the right mindset, right?
Hmm.
And then from there, if you build any of these skill sets, all worthy, all noble, all great skill sets, eventually what happens is you increase your paycheck, right? And it comes last, which I know is, probably frustrating to a lot of people. But the fact of the matter is that, the amount of income that you'll ever generate, make, or anything like that, it's solely a byproduct of the individual that you become, right? Starting with the mindset, then developing into a skill set. Now you have the byproduct of the paycheck. So that's the whole reason and cadence and explanation behind that.
Yeah, man, I really like the just the from when you talk about mindset, you talk about skill set and paycheck. I just like the concept of you have to work on your self development before you can even see results. You have to set these goals. You have to have that discipline and that consistency. And once you get through that process, you developed it. You develop your skill sets, and then you're able to see a difference when it comes to the amount of income you make. And I really think that everything that you're doing with your business page, MSP University on Instagram, is really unique as well. And kind of talk to me about execution. So for someone out there, let's say that they are a highly motivated person, and like you mentioned, with it being emotional, emotions come and go. How can people really put a game plan in place where they're more focused on execution? Because I think the execution, a lot of times, when it comes to accomplishing a goal, or just taking care of business in general, it's not about feelings. It's about, can you get the job done? And it's you have to make sure that you're doing everything you can to execute, because the people that execute are the ones that are a lot more accomplished in life. So kind of talk to me about how you execute in life, whether it's in business, and just kind of some tips that you can give the people on when it comes to execution.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love this topic, because I say it very commonly that, I think that the world itself has just found itself in a position now that the way that it works is it's no longer about who does the job. It's
Mm-hmm.
simply about who gets the job done, right? Like that's it. That's all people care about at this point moving forward. And I think it's, personally, I'm excited to see it work that way because I think what it creates is a performance-based economy,
Mm-hmm.
and in a performance-based economy, I know that I'm going to do well, and I think that individuals like myself will do well. And it's exciting to see because, for years we've lived in economies that just kind of, how do I say, um, everyone benefits, everyone in the class benefits, whether, you're the smartest kid in the class or, the laziest kid in the class. Everybody was kind of benefiting, I think, in the past. But now, population is increasing, and again, this is how we talked about how, like, we connected. It's a
Mm-hmm.
much smaller world than we think, and the way that automation is just kicking in, and artificial intelligence and all this stuff. You've got to be a performer. You have to be a producer to set your side self apart now, more than ever. So, for me, when I think about execution, I'll go back to what I talked about previously, which is discipline, right? I think that focus, attention, and discipline are the two most under talked about and underrated skill sets when it comes to producing results, right? Specifically that. And what I mean by that is there's so many people who, they have these goals, dreams, desires, intentions, whatever you want to call them, right? Everybody has those actually. So we'll start with that. Everyone has, again, that list of wants that, just comes along with us, okay? A smaller group of people go ahead and actually do the research. They figure out what it's going to take in order to make these wants become a reality, right? So whether that's putting a plan in place or where they can work, that does whatever they want to do, but somewhat creating this starting point, okay? And then you have the smallest group of people. Well, we'll say an even smaller group of people because there is another smaller group underneath that. So we have the biggest group of people are the ones who have the wants. The smaller group of those individuals are the people that, maybe do some research, try to put a plan together, okay? Then you're going to have a smaller group of people, and these are the ones that get started, okay? And then what happens is they get started, and maybe in 1 month's time, 2 months' time, 3 months' time, even 6 months' time. I'm here to tell you right now, like, I don't care what meme you see, I don't care what the internet says, about how much you can do in 3 months or 6 months. Sometimes that's still not enough time, and people got to realize that. Okay, this instant gratification,
Mm-hmm.
just society and world that we live in, is cutting itself short more often than not. Not because they don't possess the skill set, not because they don't have a genius idea, but simply because they just didn't stay consistent long enough, right? So we have the wants, we have the planners, we have the starters, and then we have basically the ones who just never give up, right? The
Mm-hmm.
smallest group of people who never stop being consistent. And we actually talked about it a little bit right before we started recording, was the things I posted, right?
Yep.
I'm not worried about, it's summertime technically in LA, right? And the reason
Yep.
that I say technically is because, yes, based on the season and based on the months that we are in our calendar year, it is summertime. I understand that, right? But summertime is more so than a season. right?
Mhm.
Which, you know, is what it should be and what it's supposed to be, is summertime becomes this ideology too of vacation, you know,
Yup.
let's go out and let's party, right?
Party.
Like it's some,
Yup.
because for years, remember though, remember the system that we're brought up in. It's you're in school
School.
in winter, spring, and fall, and summertime is the time that you take off, right?
Oh.
It's the time that you enjoy to yourself. This has been beaten into us for years, right?
Mm.
But luckily for myself, I don't, and you know, listen, I'm big on, I also have work life balance. I don't want people to
Yeah.
think that I don't, right? But there's a difference in the way that I want work life balance, in the way that so many people, again, are just programmed to think what work life balance is because that's what they've been told. And I'm putting it to you this way: if you could go ahead and work a 9 to 5 and never receive a phone call, you know, on a weekend, and you're allowed to totally tap out of work, and then also you guys are able to take summers off and everything, and like you experience that and you do that, that's awesome. But also, let me go ahead and tell you that I've done that before. I've done the 9 to 5. You know, you have weekends off, you have certain months off, you have these bank holidays off and everything like that, which is cool. But I've also experienced, yes, missing somebody's birthday, right? Or missing, you know, some type of a holiday because maybe I'm traveling for work or I'm doing this or I'm doing that. But then on a random Monday, not summertime, not no bank holiday, not anything, on a random Monday, while everyone's going and clocking in, me and my friends are renting a boat in Miami and going out on the bay. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna be honest with you, I pick having the opportunity to do that versus, you know, having my weekends and having my bank holidays and having stuff like that, right? So, you know, when I think of summertime, I think that a lot of people right now are taking their foot off the gas. You know,
Mhm.
they're, and by taking their foot off the gas, what I mean by that is they're probably still working as equally as hard because we're not in school anymore, right? Like we don't get to
Yeah.
take the whole summer off. So people are still working, people are still doing what they need to do, but their focus, the main issue
Mhm.
is that their focus and their attention is being shifted from whatever their goals are, whatever their true long term goals are. They are now thinking about the short term goals of what's going on this weekend, who's going out, what's the next party, where are we going, things like that. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
summertime, just a time within the 12 months that, you know, society says take off.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, with just growing up, it's about reprogramming yourself. Like when you talked about at the beginning of the show, about how we were taught a certain way when it comes to you go to school, and during the summertime it's a time to relax, a time to chill. And even, I could take it another step further and say I feel like the school system programs us to be employees. They program us to, work for another person, go to college, get in debt, and just get in that cycle where you're not thinking independently. You're not looking at ways of how you can be an independent thinker. And I think that, what you're saying is very important because I think that there's nothing wrong with working hard and playing hard.
Of
What we're
course.
trying to say is it's best for you to have your own decision of, okay, I can take a day off during the week and this is what I'm going to do, rather than being forced to actually having to do it. And I think that what you mentioned about like Monday, you're being able to go out to Miami on a boat where someone has to be forced to go into a job. I think that when you get in that system of working for someone else, you got to pretty much, you're only able to take the days off that they allow you to take off. And I think that, we have to reprogram ourselves and really find ways to be thinking more independently and to really work for our own, and building our own brand. And I really
Of
wanted
course.
to um get into an entrepreneurship conversation. You talked about how from 17 to 23, and we're not too far in age. I'm actually 27, and I know that you're 25 now. Talk to me about, what you're doing now in the entrepreneurship space with consulting, and why you were able to take that leap of faith. Because a lot of people, they get comfortable working for someone else and they're afraid to take that leap of faith. But talk to me about that process of actually walking into entrepreneurship and doing what you're doing now with consulting.
Yeah. So really, to fast forward with like all the different network marketing and sales companies and everything I did, I'll jump to being 21 years old. Is actually when I found myself um, taking a step back from all of this like entrepreneur stuff, because I was trying to like build my own businesses, and I told myself that I would never work for anybody once I learned about network marketing, because that is kind of the whole like, hey, fire your own boss, fire your boss, be your own boss, like don't
Mhm.
work the 9 to 5. Which, listen, I've become a lot more compassionate, like and understanding for individuals who work 9 to 5s. Listen, working a 9 to 5 is tough to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's an honest, noble living. Like, I'll put it to you this way:
Hmm.
my parents provided the life that they did for me and my sister, and the nieces and nephews that I have, and things like that, by working a 9 to 5. It's an honest person's work, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I have a new what I would say is mature and understanding of, outlook of that whole thing. So I never like, shit on the 9 to 5. What I definitely think is whack is someone who just does nothing, right? Like just being lazy and doing absolutely nothing. That is, the true, like, what the hell are you doing? So if people are out there and they're working, like, good on you, keep doing it. But for me, what I was doing is working for a logistics and supply chain company. That when I joined, there I was like the 40th employee for the entire company. Okay, and when I joined, just to give you like an idea, not again, it's not to impress anybody, it's to show the scale and growth. So 40 employees, right around like 50 million in revenue. Okay, to in 3 years. By time I was done there, the company was over 220 people, $350 million in revenue, and we went from having one floor of an office space in Royal Oak, Michigan, to having 3 floors in that building, an office in Long Beach, California, an office in Amsterdam, and an office in Poland, right? Doing bicontinental, like, international business. And when I first started, I had came in as lower than a sales rep, right? I had started as lower than a sales rep. I was like the sales rep's assistant that was just going to be making cold calls, turning these cold leads into warm leads, and then the real brokers, the senior brokers is what we called them. They were going to be the ones, managing the book of business and everything. And so, I started that as, like I said, employee number 40, at the age of 21. And then within 3 years, I was 24 years old. I was the director of sales for, the company, and training and development and everything. And it was just mind blowing because it all happened so quickly and so naturally, and all of these things had, like, just all of the stuff that I had done previously had all come together so perfectly and form fitting to like put me in the position to do what I was doing. And I was doing extremely well. And the reason I say all of that is to tell you guys that in year 3, at the height of my income, at the height of my, status in the company as far as title, which means shit, means absolutely nothing. I'm just giving you guys the idea.
Mhm.
I was ready to walk away. And so many people were like, what is, and I say so many people, my family was like, what is wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
you've been struggling to be,
Yeah.
a successful entrepreneur from the
Mhm.
ages of 17 until now, and you finally got something going for you, right? And like they're looking at it like, because it was that perfect job, a huge salary plus commission, right? Like making good money. Didn't really work on weekends. Like if my phone rang, I answered it, but like we're talking computer work and phone work and nothing crazy, right? Obviously, all holidays off because transportation just doesn't work on those holidays and things of that nature. And I was ready to walk away. I was ready to walk away because I saw something more. I wanted something more. I wanted, to just do my own thing and be my own boss and be free again, just a different type of wants, just a different type of wants. And so what happened is I actually got the opportunity to start doing this stuff. I kind of started like the consulting thing and everything in April of 2019 is when I did it, and I was doing it all for free. So I was, and I wasn't doing it with businesses either. I was more so like doing sales consulting for people who worked for other companies or did other things, while also, training and developing people for the company I already worked for. So it was what I was already doing at RPM was the name of the company. And I just started doing it for people on the side. And I initially started off doing it for free, for a couple reasons. Number one is because, everything that I was teaching people, the information that I was teaching people, it was already out there, right? If they really went and looked for it, they could find the information that I was giving them for free. Okay.
Mhm.
But the big thing about it was that I also had the white space on my calendar. So if the information could be found elsewhere and I have free time, what am I really charging for? It didn't make
Yeah.
sense, right? So I started it that way. But then what happened was that my calendar started to get booked. People started going ahead and actually, just more and more started reaching out, because the other reason I was doing it free for was to have the content. So then I was
Mhm.
having good content to put out there, which, working with a social media marketing company and, putting out good content was able to grow, a pretty decent following and everything. And just had like a lot of eyes on me, started drawing a lot of attention. And then once I started drawing a lot of attention, I started getting some more, clients and things like that. And that's when my free time started to then spread thin. And then at that point, I was like, okay, yes, and I warned people, I say, listen, the information you're going to learn from me, it's going to be very interesting. Like now you're going to start hearing it elsewhere, because that's also the way that the universe works. Once you become aware of something, you're going to start noticing it everywhere, like
Yeah,
and I keep you went
subconscious mind.
you went to Bowling Green, correct?
Yep. Yep.
This might make a lot of sense to you, and maybe it's easier in high school because it's smaller, but you remember that like one kid that you're in Bowling Green and maybe you're like walking in between classes and you see him, and then it's
Yeah.
like you start seeing this kid everywhere and you're like,
Where?
how the hell, like
Yep.
I just saw you I've been here for 2 years, never saw you once, see you, and now I see you everywhere. It's
Where?
funny because you became aware of who he
Where?
is, and now, if your mind sees him, you're aware of it, right?
Yep.
And so, that's really just how it all started working. Was I told them that I'm gonna share this information with you guys, but I'm also gonna teach it in a way that, is gonna resonate with you. And that's the cool thing about me, man. I'm a good communicator,
Hmm.
and I help people understand. I make them understand. And then I would tell them, so since you're going to start seeing this information elsewhere, I don't want you to get frustrated with me. I'm not even charging you for the information, but I'm
Hmm.
charging you for the time, because my
Yep.
time is spread thin. And I would show them my calendar. And, at that point, the value was already so prominent that people, they wanted to work with me. And so we started doing that a little bit. And then I was still working for RPM, like all the while I'm doing this, and things were getting pretty crazy because we were expanding out to Europe at that time. So I was actually the one who was heading the sales expansion out in Europe. So because of the pandemic, now, well, I was going to be living in Amsterdam, and then the pandemic had happened. So now I'm waking up at like 3:45, 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States, just so I could make my sales meeting on time in Amsterdam, right?
Mhm.
Working these like crazy hours and schedules and stuff like that. And, a couple of other partners that I had, just kept bringing me more and more and more opportunities, until, I had linked up with a good friend of mine who, I've known for years. And he brought me the opportunity to work with a bigger brand, out here in LA, right? That is more focused on nutritional supplements,
Mhm.
like, so you have like different proteins and dietary supplements, and brain cognitive products and things like that. You have skin cares, cosmetics, things like that. And then also another brand that we're partnering up with and working with as well is a big CBD brand, and is gonna really be a household name here very shortly. And so when these opportunities presented themselves, um, we were in the middle of the pandemic, and it just so happened to be like the perfect time to transition. When I say perfect, I mean like divine timing, like even better than, me walking outside and like my Uber Eats delivering at the same time. Like people get excited about that. I mean, bro, this was divine timing, right? And so I took the leap of faith and had really good conversations and an exit strategy with the owner of the previous company that I was with.
Mhm.
Left there, moved to Chicago for literally like a month because I thought that's where I was going to primarily be, when I
Mhm.
had, left and working with my partners. And then I actually came out here to LA to, meet with the client face to face, and, the owner of the brands that we were going to be partnering up with. And was just absolutely amazed at everything that I had saw out here, and was sold on everything that I had saw out here, because of how impressive it literally all is. And
Mhm.
was asked just if I had any hesitation to be out here, or if I would
Mhm.
be interested in that. And once again, as soon as I was given the opportunity, again I jumped. And so just got done settling into Chicago to only pick everything up and move it out here to LA. But that has been the constant in my story, from the beginning of time to current time right now. Is, like I said, I'm not afraid to start over. I'm not afraid to pick up, pack, and go, and do whatever I got to do, to not even say that it's going to work out, but to just experience what's on my list, right?
List.
And
Mhm.
see if it's truly what I want or not. And then once I
Yep.
figure out if it's truly what I want or not, then we move accordingly.
Yeah, I think that it's important for anyone that's looking to find their purpose and just trying to figure out what drives you. Getting those experiences and getting, I know we do say the term getting out of our comfort zone, and I love the video that you had put in regards to that. But I think that as far as not being comfortable with living in your current hometown, being comfortable with taking a leap of faith, to leave and go to another state to be able to progress in life, or just being able to transform your life, in starting a business. What routines, what systems are you putting in place to really get you to that next level?